Well, howdy folks, Dr. Don back again. In this video, we're going to discuss the first of the 12 steps. But before we get going, I want to remind you that the Dunamis effect isn't about any specific chemical or behavior. If I say the word using, it means any drug of choice. If I happen to say drinking, it's probably just out of habit because my drug of choice was alcohol. We'll have other videos describing in detail exactly what addiction is and how it develops within us. But for now, as for the first step, it simply reads, we admitted that we were powerless over our use of substances or behaviors and that our lives had become unmanageable. In the Dunamis effect, we have a Christian value assigned to every step too, and the value associated with step 1 is surrender. So, if we look closely, there's two parts to this step. And the first is a biggie for many people. Admitting powerlessness is an act of surrender, but for most people, a bridge too far. We may have had some understanding that we would be better off if we drank less or used whatever we're doing just a little less, but none? I mean, none? Ever? And powerlessness? Come on. What we're often doing is remembering all the triumphs and good deeds that we actually have done in our lives and all the things that we've worked hard for and accomplished. No one's life is all bad. What this shows is that we don't completely understand the change that addiction has made in our brains. By the time we find ourselves attending a recovery support group, we've lost all of our capacity to stop without extreme effort. And the forces within our brain that are trying to get us to use again are very, very strong. Going to a group is never anyone's first attempt at stopping. And most people get there have been trying to quit dozens or even hundreds of times on their own, and yet somehow think they can still do it. Stating the word powerlessness is just too much for them. When we consider the second half of the step, our lives had become unmanageable, we discuss behavior. Now, many times the person is willing to admit that their lives are chaotic, and a lot of people are upset with them that maybe aren't living up to their best life, but as many people think they are somehow managing pretty well. We tend to say these people have high rock bottoms since they haven't lost everything yet. Sometimes it takes a lot of frank discussion to get a person with high rock bottom to admit their life is not being well managed. But still, the word powerlessness may be difficult for them to admit. Other folks come to recovery after having a major league crash and burn. They may be losing their family, their marriage, their home, their job, even their professional reputation, pretty much everything that they hold dear. These folks have what we might call a low rock bottom, and they're usually more than willing to admit their powerlessness and unmanageability. So regardless if you're a high rock bottom or a low rock bottom, in the end, you are going to be successful. You must surrender 100%. Anything less than that is simply submission, which is more like complying or going along with the program to get out of trouble. Submission is a serious risk factor for relapse, and what we need is complete and total surrender. In fact, it gets said a lot that the only part of the 12 steps that must be done 100% perfect is the first half of the first step, and it must be done daily for the rest of your life. So submission is like saying, I'll put down my weapon and not fight, but I know it's right there if I want to pick it up and start fighting again anytime I want. What I imagine is God is saying, oh, good luck with that. When you actually surrender, what you're saying is, I can't stand the pain any longer. Take my weapon, melt it down into a wind chime. I am done, 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 done. Now that's when God steps in and says, now that I can work with. That's surrender. Surrender isn't just a thing in addiction recovery. It is the thing in addiction recovery. The reason we resist it so much is that the word surrender sounds like the word failure to our ears. But pay attention here, folks. We aren't saying that you're powerless over everything, just your drug of choice. If you think about it, there's many things that you're powerless over. You can't control the weather, the economy, other people's behavior. There's actually way more things that we don't have power over than the things that we do control. But dig this. Surrender is not failure. It's wisdom. Why fight a fight you can't win? If some bully's beating you up and taking away your money every day, then going down a different street seems like a really smart idea. Sometimes taking the loss and moving on is the only smart move. Let's say you're an athlete and your team is losing all the time. Maybe you need to personally work a lot harder. But if you try that over and over and over again and your team is still losing, maybe it's not you. Maybe it's the team you're on. If you know in your heart that you're supposed to be a winner, sometimes you need to quit playing with the losing team and join a team of winners. In addiction recovery, the I'll fix myself team is usually the losing team. This step invites you to join the please God, I need help team and be prepared to start winning. Surrender, it's your surest path to a winning season, and that is why it is the value we stress in step 1. Good news here is that there is hope for those in surviving this mess. Far too many people don't, and they die to their addiction, or they end up taking their own life, and it's such a needless tragedy. Okay, so that's step 1 for today. We go into a lot more detail in the book, The Dunamis Effect. And next up, hope is the value for step 2. And we'll see you there soon. Bye now.
Just a reminder, the Dunamis Effect is a Christ-centered 12-step recovery program and not medical care. Dr. Middleton is a physician, but he's not your physician. So we encourage you to work with a qualified healthcare professional as part of your recovery. You were created worthy of care, support, and a healthy life in sobriety.